Hey guys, very good morning. My name is Mithilesh Singh, and today I am going to cover AWS Route 53 Part 2. In my previous session, I discussed what is Route 53, how does DNS service work, why AWS has given name of its DNS service Route 53. We have also talked about it, and we also discussed how many functions are available and what is the use of those functions. So if you have not watched my the first video, you can go on my YouTube channel CloudX India, and you can watch the first part of AWS Route 53. So in today's session, I'm going to cover point number 3, Route 53 use case and demonstration. So there are some use cases I have covered in my today's session, which I'm going to talk, and also we do the practical as well. So the first use case is create delegation or conditional forwarding from on-premises DNS server to Route 53. So delegation and condition, in which case we should create the delegation or conditional forwarding or create the subzone, we'll talk about in today's session in this video. So take an example. This is your setup. This is a layout of your organization. Okay. So I have a client here and there is a one DNS server which is in my on-premises. Okay, and over this DNS server, I have created a zone. Name is cloudxindia.com. Okay, so cloudxindia.com is my primary zone or DNS database, you can say, where I am creating all DNS related entries over here, right? Whatever resource I have in my on-premises. After some time, organization adopted AWS services, and I have deployed some of the resources over there as well. Okay, like web server, file server, your load balancers, application server. There are so many servers which we have deployed time to time. Now, organization want to create a zone over AWS, which is Route 53, and create all like integrate all these resources into Route 53, not in your on-premises DNS server over here. Okay. So what you can do is for it's a very straightforward configuration. So first of all, what you have to do, you have to create a zone over Route 53. Okay. So while you are going to create the zone, what name will you use? Since I'm talking about one organization, so definitely you have to choose a single name. Okay, so that it can represent to your organization. So it is cloudxindia.com. So you cannot like you can take any name, but that's not the ideal scenario and not good practice. Okay, so in such cases, what name you are going to select? Since cloudxindia.com, the parent zone already used, so it's not recommended to create the same zone over your Route 53 as well. The reason why you cannot create, there is no technical limitation. You can create the same zone on multiple DNS server. That doesn't matter, right? It matters when client trying to resolve the name over over AWS. So take an example. I'm just giving a scenario over here. Okay. So what I did, I created the same zone since I understood, okay, this is the same organization. So what I did, I created the same zone. I just removed the AWS dot. So I created the same zone, cloudxindia.com in my Route 53 on AWS. Okay. And under this cloudxengineer.com zone, I created some of the DNS record like web.cloudxindia.com, frs.cloudxindia.com, app.cloudxindia.com. So whatever the entry I have created, that is definitely use the parent name and it become like AWS FRS. So it will continue with parent name frs.cloudxindia.com. Okay. The moment client try to resolve the name from on premises, so what I can do, I can cut this from here as well. Okay. And this entry you have created where? On the AWS Route 53. Okay. So the moment client try to resolve this name as a preferred DNS server, so you have set the preferred DNS server in client settings. what happened? It reach out to your on-premises DNS server. It will verify. It will ask the query, right? Do you know web.cloudxindia.com? I want to communicate. The moment you reach to this on-premises DNS server, it will say what is your query. So you said I have a record web. I'm searching under cloudxindia.com. It will say, okay, let me verify this part, this zone, whether it is available on my database or not. So the moment it go inside the database, it find a zone, cloudxindia.com. What does it say? Okay, I have the zone. What is your query? So I said, my query is the web. So it said, let me look into my database. Is there any record I have created or not? So it looked into the database but didn't find any record. Okay. The moment it verified and didn't find any record, what happened? It gave the response, there is no such record available. However, you have created the record over your Route 53, but it did not forward your query over Route 53 on AWS. It give you response, the record does not exist. The reason why it didn't forward your query over internet or Route 53. So the moment you reach to here, you were querying the data or any record from the cloudxindia.com, which is already hosted by this DNS server. Okay, so it says I have the database of your query cloudxindia.com, and I searched, there is no such record. Since I have the database, I will not forward your query anywhere else because there is no such record available to me. Okay, so if you are using the same name here and there, then whatever the query, whatever the record you have set here, these client cannot get like cannot resolve those entry or record from the on-premises, because on-premises will always verify from its own database because the name is same, and whatever the output, since it doesn't have the record, it give you the error. Okay, so what you can do, if you want to use the keep if you want to keep the same name, okay, however you should not, it is not recommended, but take an example if you want, then what you have to do is you have to duplicate the record. Whatever the entry you have created over here, the same entry you have to create here manually, so that when client come to it, it find this DNS should find a record web.cloudxindia.com. Okay, but this is not the recommended way or ideal scenario. It create the administrative overhead. You have to create the record in on premises as well as on Route 53. So we'll not follow this structure. The second use case, so what name should I use? So what I did, so since we are talking about two structure, one is my on premises and the other one is my Route 53. So in this case, what I can do is I will keep the same parent name like cloudxindia.com, but create a subzone, AWS. So AWS will be a child, .cloudxindia.com will be the parent. Whatever the record or resource you have created into AWS cloud environment, those entry will be created like FRS, like file server dot AWS dot cloudxindia.com. So it will follow the parent name plus its own domain name as well. Okay, and in on premises, whatever the record you will create, that will like xyz.cloudxindia.com. Okay, so this is how the structure will work over here. Okay, now so we are agreed to create this diagram or structure into the organizations, but how my DNS server, on-premises DNS server, will know for any query which is related to cloud web.aws cloudxindia.com, I should forward to the Route 53. Okay, so the moment you reach to your on-premises DNS server here, it will say, okay, let me verify the query. You said web.aws cloudxindia.com. So it will go and say, I am the cloudxindia.com, but there is no AWS subzone created. Okay, So what I can do, since as I said, it's a child, so we have to create a subzone over here. Okay, I'll create a subzone. Give the name AWS. The moment you give the name AWS, so it automatically take the parent name aws.cloudxindia.com. Okay, so now the next question, you have created subzone, it's okay, but how your DNS server know the any query related to subzone should be forwarded to Route 53? Okay, so in such cases, what you have to do is you have to point your all query which is related to this to Route 53. So for that, what you have to do is you have to first of all get the NS record from your Route 53. So what is NS record? So NS record is name server. Okay, and basically name server indicate which DNS server is actually hosting the database. And how can you get the NS record? So the moment you create the zone, whether it is in your on premises or on the cloud, okay, the moment you create the zone, it automatically create a NS. Okay, in on premises, since you are creating on a server, so the server name, DNS server name, IP or name will be your NS name server. On the cloud, it creates some name server which is on the public hosting side. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's first create the cloudxindia.com in on premises and see the name server record, and then we'll follow the this structure subzone, and then we'll create the entry over Route 53 as well. Okay, the first step, let's create cloudxindia.com in on premises. So I have a server over here, and under this server, what I can do, I'll open the DNS console. Under this DNS console, you can see first is your server name, DNS server name. The second is forward lookup zone. Forward lookup zone, when I say, so when you try to resolve name into IP, the query will come into the forward lookup zone. And when you are trying to resolve query name IP to name, that will go into the reverse lookup. Other is trust point, and the next one is conditional forwarding. Trust point will talk later. It's not the DNS session today, so we'll talk about this one. Okay, so let's do one thing. We are talking about name to IP resolution, so create a forward lookup zone. So right click here, create a new zone, and give a name. Select the primary zone and give the name cloudxindia.com. I'll copy this name, paste somewhere on notepad, and then click on next. This is your DNS file or database will be created in system 32 DNS. Next and finish. The moment you create CloudX India, this is zone created. The moment you create any zone, DNS by default create two records. One is SOA, SOA or Startup Authority. Other one is name server. As I said, whenever you create any zone, it automatically create a name server record. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's create some record over here. So right click on your zone, create a record like test, give the IP address, create few more records. So I have created three record over here, test, dash and server under this cloudxindia.com. So the first of all, before going ahead, let's see whether this name is getting resolved from your client system or not. So what you have to do is do the NS lookup, check your VM IP address. So it is a 3.15.159.71. Since I have created this virtual machine over AWS and this had the public IP address. So what I can do is I can type server. Make sure you have to follow this step, otherwise the name resolution will not like you will not get the proper response what you are trying to do. Okay, so then you have to write server 3.15.159.71 and then click hit. Okay, So this is your server, and you now connected with your AWS or Windows DNS server. You just assume this Windows DNS server, okay? And then what you have to do is you have to type your query test dot cloudxindia.com. You can see the output is coming. I'm getting response from my on-premises DNS server. Okay. Whatever the query, whatever the record you have created over there, you can query from here, get the response and see. One more thing, right? You have to see. So here you can see when you type the dash.cloudxindia.com, you get the response, and there is nowhere mentioned non-authoritative. Okay, so it is authoritative information. So from this client, I have mentioned dash.cloudxindia.com, and I reach to my on-premises DNS server, and under this on-premises DNS server, I get the response. And since I connected with my primary and getting response from here, so this will be the authoritative response. Okay, so I get the authoritative response here. Now let's create the subzone. Before creating subzone, so what you have to do is you have to go on Route 53 and create the subzone first over there. So let's do the same thing and go on Route 53. So I already have opened this. So what you can do, you can go into the services and then type the name Route 53. The moment you click over Route 53, it will take you into a different console, okay, or browser. You can see the Route 53 is visible here, and there are multiple options. So this is Route 53 dashboard. Under dashboard, you can see there are four options: DNS management, traffic management, availability monitoring, domain registration. Okay, so we will talk about all these points one by one. So for now, I'm going to cover DNS management. Okay. Apart from this, you can see also traffic flow, domain, resolver options are also available. We'll talk about these as well. So let's create a zone over here. So what you have to do is either click on here, create hosted zone, or click on hosted zone. So either way, you have to select any of the options. Cool. So now I am under hosted zone. So what I can do, there is no zones available for now. So what I can do, I can create a zone. Click on create hosted zone and give a name. What name will you give? So the name what I have decided here, aws.cloudxindia.com. You can give any as per your testing or you want to do the practical. So follow this structure only. In your organization, whatever the naming standard is followed, you have to follow that one. So I'll give aws.cloudxindia.com. Okay. So in the description bar, you can type anything. So this is for demonstration part. Okay. Now in the type indicate where you want to route traffic. Okay. So if you select public, then you will be able to resolve from your on-premises device. If you select private hosted, then you have to enable this feature at the VPC level. There is options check DNS check options. You have to click, and then all your EC2 instances, which is deployed over AWS, can get the response from this. So I'm not going to do this since my client is also sitting in on-premises as well as in different location. So I'll do public hosted zone. So click here public hosted zone and click on create zone. So it's creating. The moment you complete the creation, okay, you can see the name is available, aws.cloudxindia.com. Under aws.cloudxindia.com, this is a hosted zone details. You can click here and you can see this is the ID. Whenever you create any zone, you will get a unique ID, And basis of this ID, actually AWS identify that your zone is this. If you're going for the support case to AWS, right? So they ask for what is instance ID. Okay, so you have to give the hosted zone ID to them so that they can easily identify. So this is your hosted zone ID. This is the description you have given. Okay, and this is public hosted zone. Numbers of record is two. Why there are two record? I'll tell you. And this is the name server we were talking, right? So what is name server? So as a name server, I have mentioned it basically indicate where is which DNS server is actually hosting the record. Okay, so this is the name server record. Let's come down into the record. So there are two record automatically created. One is SOA, Startup Authority. It is also created in your on-premises DNS server. If you remember when I create the zone first time, so these two record automatically created. Startup authority plus NS. On your on-premises, your NS will be your DNS server. But in AWS Route 53, the NS will be any public device, whatever AWS is providing to us. Okay, so that is our name server. So what we have to do is we have to first copy this name server record into the notepad. Now I have to go into my, okay, before this, what I can do is let's create some record here. I'll go to my zone aws.cloudxindia.com, click on create record, take the simple routing for now. We'll talk about all this feature one by one. So simple routing. Today I'm going to cover simple routing only. Click on next. Define simple record. So click on define simple record. Give a name like web. Okay. Choose a route traffic to. I said IP address. What is IP address? I said 10 20 10 1.10. And then you have to just click on define record and then create it. So let's go into the zone. Under the zone, you can see I have created a record which is a web.cloudxindia.com. It is a record. Okay, so it is a static entry I have created here. What I can do, let's resolve this name. I'll copy this entry, go to my on-premises command prompt on my system which is I have opened, paste your query over here. So the moment you paste, you reach to your on-premises DNS server, which is this one. And once you reach it, what it does, so it's try to look into its own database. So since you are querying for aws.cloudxindia.com, so it doesn't find any record over here, and it also didn't forward the query over the internet because you are asking the record of cloudxindia.com. Okay, you are looking something under the cloudxindia.com, and this is the cloudxindia.com, and there is no such record available like AWS. Okay, so what I have to do is, and even my on-premises DNS server doesn't know that aws.cloudxindia.com is hosted uh, on Route 53. So what I have to do, I have to first tell my DNS server, and before this I have to create a subzone. Just right click on your parent zone, click on delegation. So I'm delegating. What I'm going to delegate, I'm going to delegate AWS. Whenever there is a query related to aws.cloudxindia.com, delegate it to where, put the name server record, whatever the name server we have copied. Okay, so this is my name server. I will copy here and then click on resolve. The moment you click resolve, you get the IP address since it is a publicly available. You can put all the entry, but that is not necessary for the demonstration. Okay, so I'll paste other one. Okay, all right. So what I have to do is I have to first click on okay, then click on add again, and it will add a new record. Okay, so every time whenever there is new NS, I have to resolve, click OK, and then add it again for the third one. So for the demonstration, you can do one or two, or you can use all. That's not a problem. Click on now. Click on next, and then finish it. So what I said to my DNS server, hey, if there is any query related to aws.cloudxindia.com and the zone is started from AWS, route all those traffic to this name server. Okay. And when my DNS server route the traffic to this name server, what happened? This name server is basically pointing to your AWS Route 53. Okay. So the moment you route it, it automatically reaches to AWS Route 53. So let's go back to the slide again. So here it is. So the moment you do the query and create the zone and associate, point it with NS, so it establish a connection with your AWS Route 53. And whatever the query you type from here, from the client to get the resolution, you will reach to here and then go into the zone, and then it will go into the AWS and then use the delegation path and reach to the Route 53. Remember, in such cases or scenario, it will not follow your forwarding mechanism. Okay, so it bypass this channel since you have every information. You have the zone, subzone, and you have also given the source target IP address where your query need to go. Okay, so the NS record, NS IP address you already provided over here. Now let's do the name resolution one more time. Click here, and now you can see you are getting response now. Okay, so web.aws.cloudxindia.com, the moment you typed it and try to resolve, you get the response. Let's see, this is the same IP address you have created over there. So the IP is 10.21.10. That's right. Okay, this is the IP. And one more thing you have to notice here. So see, it is saying non-authoritative. Why it is non-authoritative? So client, as a client on premises, it reaches to its primary DNS server, preferred DNS server, and this preferred DNS server say, hey, I don't have the web, but there is a zones delegation I have created, which is pointing to some other DNS server. Okay, I can get the response from this and give you the resolution. So what happened? So this send the query over here, get the response from here, and then deliver you. So actually it's not authoritative partner. It's not giving the response from its own database. It's pulling the record from somewhere else and giving response. In such cases, whenever your preferred DNS get the response from other DNS, the response will be non-authoritative. Always remember, this is very important for your interview. Okay, so this is clear. So this is done. So hope it's clear to everyone. If not, please feel free to comment in comment section bar. The next use case is migrate on-premises DNS to Route 53. Take an example. You do not want to create the subzone, whatever the standard or mechanism we followed. Okay, you want to remove your DNS service from on-premises. Okay, you do not want to maintain the record over here or multiple DNS server, because when you configure DNS in your on-premises, you have to think about the high availability as well. In case your this DNS server goes down, what happened? This client will not get the answer. Okay, so you have to parallelly set up some other DNS server with the same record. Maybe it is a part of your AD integration, so the information will be replicated here. Okay, And if these two go down, what happen? You will not have again you will have problem, right? So you have to set up another. So you have to think about high availability. If you have multiple sites, so you have to think high availability from multiple site standpoint. You have to set the DNS in every important or major site. Okay, so this is one of the administrative overhead or the requirement of your organization. You have to set up multiple server, which increase the cost as well. Okay, and all the server will not be functional all the time, because maybe it happened that maximum client is reaching to this, not this, and then secondly reaching to this, but this is the ideal. So what is use of it? So let's eliminate it. So how can do this? So since you have already created all the record inside your on-premises environment, okay, and you want to migrate this, so what you can do? First of all, you have to create a same zone over there, and then you can migrate all your record over there. How can you do this? Let's follow the structure. So for this, what I have to do is, first of all, I have to delete all these zones. The deletion, first you have to delete the record, the static entry what you have created, then go back to your main zone and click on delete, and here click delete for the confirmation, and it's deleted now. Now what I said, let's create the same zone because we are going to migrate. So the moment when we say the migration, it means we are going to create the same, like we are lifting and shifting, right? This is what migration is called. Okay, so obviously the name will be same over here. So let's create a same name, cloudxindia.com, and then this is migration, and again it is a public create hosted zone. It's created now. Now you can see again there are name server and SOA, but remember this time the name server record, whenever you recreate DNS zone, so you will get the different name server entry. You can see here the NS server record or entry will be changed all the time whenever remove and create new. So let's do one thing. Let's follow the migration process. What you have to, it is very easy or straightforward. What you have to do is you have to go in your on-premises DNS, open the DNS database where it my computer, go into the C drive, go into the Windows, search System32, go into the DNS, search it. It is DNS folder here. Under this DNS, you can find a zone, okay, or the file which is similar to your uh, zone, right? Whatever the zone you have created, cloudxindia.com. So this is the database of your cloudxindia.com here. What you have to do is you have to open this and you have to copy the record. Which record now you are going to copy here? You have to remember. So a startup authority or NS, your Route 53 will not let you to create those entry because it has its own startup authority and name server record. There is no use of your on-premises startup authority or name server record. So what you are going to migrate? We are going to migrate the database of the record. So what I can do? So I have created 3 record over here. I'll copy all this record, copy it, and then go into your Route 53 zone, click on import zone file and paste the record here. Okay, so on the downside you can see, okay, it's not populating. Let me do one thing. Let me copy all these so that it follows the format. Now go and see. Now it's showing all. Okay, so since As I said, we are going to migrate record only. So what I have to do is I have to delete all the above entry, whatever I have like NS startup authority and all. Okay, and then you can create. See, the TTL is since you're on premises using the default TTL. Okay, there is no TTL entry created for this record, so it's not showing over here. So the moment when you will try to import it, it will give error because there is no TTL set for your record. Okay, so you can try and see the error. Click on import, and you will see the error on below. Okay, it's related to the TTL. So what you can do is you can go into the import file and you can mention here anytime like 500. Okay. Now go downside. You can see it's showing to the TTL. TTL is time to leave. You have to define based on your requirement. Now you can click on import and it will let you to import all the zone record what you had in on premises. You can see all the dash.cloudxindia.com, server.cloudxindia.com, or text.cloudxindia.com is created, and all record are the simple entry are created. Okay, so now let's do one thing. Let's delete the zone from your on premises. What I have to do is I have to go over here and delete the zone since it is a migrated, and also do the DNS clear the cache so that if it has any record in the cache, it remove from here. Now let's do the name resolution from here. So what I have to do, dash.cloudxindia.com. You will see timeout. There is no such record available. Okay. Why it is not resolving? As a client, I am connecting to which IP address? I am connecting to 3.15.159.71, which is my on-premises DNS server IP address. And the moment I reach here, it is saying I have no such record or database available. I cannot give you the response. Okay, but I know I have migrated all to Route 53 and I want the response. What I can do is I have to tell my DNS server whenever there is a query related to cloudxindia.com, you have to forward it to AWS Route 53 as in your on-premises system. So let's do one thing. You just migrated your DNS record from on-premises to cloud. It's okay, but keep this server as a forwarder so that whenever client come to this, say, hey, I want to communicate with dash.cloudxindia.com. So what does it do? It forward the query to the follow the channel, forward the query to Cisco umbrella, and then it forward query to the your DNS server Route 53. You can create forwarding like create the conditional forwarding here. Okay, and mention the NS IP address, name server IP address. Okay, so what I can do is, so I have two options. Either I will create the forwarding. I go into the my DNS property here and click on forwarders and put the IP address of my whatever the name server record of AWS Cloud Route 53. Okay, whatever the IP is there, I can just find the IP address as I did hit this one. I'll copy it and then I will mention this here. And I said to my DNS server, whenever there is a query come to you related to dashboard.cloudxindia.com, related to cloudxindia.com, what you have to do is you have to forward this query to this particular IP. And this IP belong to your AWS Route 53 NS record, which is a hosted zone name server or DNS server. So this is one of the options. The other options, I'm not going to follow this one since it's pretty much easy. I'll talk about the conditional forwarding. So conditional forwarding is you can create conditional forwarding when there is any specific zone you know where I should go. Okay. So take an example in your organization, there are multiple forwarding you set and which is going to over internet, but there are few of the your client. Okay, which the DNS server of the client, and you want to directly forward the query from your DNS server to the client, not over internet. Okay, so I'll go into the picture here. So question is, so this is your one of the client, okay, distribution partner. This is the DNS server of it. You do not want to follow the channel on internet, go on Cisco umbrella, then go on internet, and then from internet it come to your client. So this is following the long route. Okay, so what you can do is you can create the conditional forwarding over here. So the conditional forwarding, take an example, it's xyz.com. So you can create conditional forwarding whenever there is a query related to xyz.com, forward it to this. Don't forward on internet, just forward to this particular DNS server. So that is the reason we use the conditional forwarding when there is a condition defined. So let's do one thing. Let's create it. Click on conditional forwarder and the name. What name is I'm going to resolve? So it is cloudxindia.com, and then you have to put the NS server IP address of Route 53. So I said whenever you get any query related to cloudxindia.com, you should forward that to these name server. You can put one or two, it's okay. That is enough. So I put two. You can put all four. So I have created conditions. Whenever you receive query related cloudxindia.com, don't look here and there. Don't forward to your Cisco umbrella or direct internet. Just use the conditional forwarding and forward this query to here. If you have, remember, if you have conditional forwarding set, so what happened? DNS server first look into the zone. If there is no entry, then it look the second option is conditional forwarding. If there is conditional forwarding, that it choose that path. If there is no conditional forwarding, then it will go to the forwarder and route hint. Okay. So I did this. So let me go over my site. This one I said test.cloudxindia.com. You can see I'm getting the response. Whatever you have migrated over there, you can get the response from there. Okay. So guys, this is what I was about to cover today and did this. Hope you enjoy the session. Please feel free to comment if you have any feedback, and also please give a thumbs up, share, and subscribe my channel.